I run my entire automation setup from a chat app on my phone. Not a dashboard, not a web interface, not a remote desktop, a chat app. I send a message like I am texting a friend, and a few seconds later I get back the result. The render finished, the backup ran clean, the job failed on step 3. Whatever I asked, I get a plain answer. And when I first built this, I expected it to feel like a hack. Instead, it felt like the most natural thing I had ever added to my setup. That surprised me, and it is what I want to talk about in this video. How I built a Telegram bot to be the remote control for my whole operation. Why that turned out to be a genuinely good idea, and the things I had to get right to make it safe enough to trust. Why a chat interface just works. Before I explain how it works, I want to explain why a chat app is such a good fit for this job, because that part is not obvious until you think about it. The first reason is reach. Telegram works on my phone, my tablet, and my laptop, and it works from anywhere I have a signal. I do not need to be on my home network. I do not need to open a port, set up a VPN, or think about my IP address. The bot sits on my server. The server connects out to Telegram, and that is it. I can send a command from a coffee shop or an airport lounge and get the result in my pocket. The second reason is that the interface is just text. There is nothing to design, no buttons to wire up, no forms to build. I type what I want. The bot responds with what happened. For an operations tool that I use alone, that is the exact right level of complexity. The third reason is that it pushes alerts to me. If something finishes or fails while I am not watching, I find out the moment it happens. I do not have to open a dashboard and check. The bot just messages me. That is a different relationship with your own automation than you get from a web panel. And once you have it, you do not want to go back. How it works in plain terms. The whole thing is simpler than most people expect. Here is what actually happens when I send a message to the bot. First, my message arrives at the bot. Telegram handles the delivery, so I do not need any server open to the public internet. The bot is polling Telegram for new messages, or Telegram is pushing them, depending on how you set it up. Either way, the message lands in my code. Second, the bot checks who sent the message. This is the safety check, and I will come back to it properly. But the short version is that if the sender is not me, nothing happens. Third, the bot looks at what I typed and decides what to do with it. I have a small table of commands, a word or a short phrase that maps to a function. If I type something it recognizes, it runs that function. If it does not recognize it, it tells me so. Fourth, the function runs. That is where the actual work happens. It might read a log file. It might call a script. It might check whether a process is running. Fifth, the bot sends me back a result. Whatever the function returned, I get it as a reply. The whole loop is usually done in a few seconds. That is the entire architecture. There is no magic in it. A diagram worth drawing. I want to make that loop concrete because it is the thing that took me the longest to fully picture before I built it. Imagine 4 boxes in a line. The first box is me sending a message from my phone. The second box is the bot checking who I am and what I want. The third box is a small script running on my machine. The fourth box is the bot sending me back the result. That is the whole thing. Nothing in that diagram is complicated on its own. The complexity people imagine is not really there. You are connecting a chat app, a table of commands, and some scripts you probably already wrote. The glue in the middle is small. The concrete things I actually use it for. Let me tell you what I actually sent to this bot, because that is more useful than the theory. The first thing is status checks. I can ask the bot whether a background job is still running, what the last log line said, or whether a certain file showed up in a folder. This sounds small until you are sitting somewhere without a computer and you want to know if a long render finished. Instead of waiting until I get home, I just ask. The second thing is kicking off jobs. Some tasks I do not want running on a schedule because they need to wait for conditions that are hard to detect automatically. So I run them on demand from my phone. I type a short command, the bot starts the job, and it messages me when it finishes. The third thing is getting reports. I have scripts that pull a summary of recent activity, how many items were processed, whether anything errored, what the counts look like. I used to run those manually at the desk. Now I ask the bot and read the answer anywhere. The fourth thing, and this is the one that quietly changed how I feel about my setup, is failure alerts. I have jobs that check on my bot at the end of every run and send me a message if something went wrong. I do not go looking for problems. The problems come to me. That shift from pulling information to having it pushed at me is worth more than any individual feature. What it means to have a bot ping you, I want to stay on that last point a little longer because it changes your relationship with your own automation in a way I did not fully anticipate. When I was checking dashboards and log files, I was always slightly behind. I would look at something, it would look fine, and then 3 hours later, something would have failed and I would not know until I checked again. With a bot that messages me when a run completes and messages me again if something went wrong, I am never more than a few seconds behind. The failure gets to me the same moment it happens, and because it comes in the same channel as everything else I actually read, I notice it. This is not a tiny operational win. For someone running a setup of any real size, it is one of the most valuable things you can build. The cost is small. The benefit is that you actually know what is happening. The safety that is not optional. Now let me talk about the part one take most seriously. Because a bot that can run scripts on your machine is not something you wire up carelessly. The first and non-negotiable rule is that only I can talk to it. Every message that arrives, the bot checks the Telegram user ID of the sender. I hard-coded my own ID into the configurations. If the ID does not match, the bot ignores the message and logs that it got something unexpected. There are no exceptions. There is no admin list, no guest mode, no whitelisted group. One ID, and it is mine. The second thing is that every command is explicit. The bot does not try to interpret natural language and guess what I want. It has a fixed list of recognized commands, and anything outside that list gets a polite, I do not know that command, and nothing else. That matters because it means the attack surface is exactly the list of things I decided to expose, nothing more. The third thing is confirmation for anything destructive. If a command would delete something, overwrite something, or shut something down, the bot does not just run it. It asks me to confirm first. I have to send a second message saying yes, and even that confirmation times out after 30 seconds. If I do not respond in time, nothing happens. That feels like friction, but it is the right kind of friction. It has caught me twice when I typed the wrong command and the bot asked me to confirm something I did not actually want. Keeping the scope narrow on purpose. Related to safety is the question of what I chose not to put through the bot, because that matters as much as what I did put through it. There are commands I could theoretically expose that I do not, and that is a deliberate choice. Anything that modifies live production data goes through a proper process with version control and a review step, not through a chat command. Anything that touches secrets or credentials does not live in the bot at all. Anything I have not already tested carefully as a standalone script does not get a bot command until I have run it a few hundred times by hand and I know exactly what it does. The principle is that the bot should only surface things I already trust completely. It is not a place to experiment. It is a narrow interface to a set of things I have already proven out. Keeping it narrow is not laziness, it is how you keep it safe as it grows. What I kept off the bot entirely, there are whole categories that I deliberately excluded, and I think that is worth naming. I do not route any API calls with financial side effects through the bot. No billing, no payment triggers, nothing that touches money. I do not put database write operations through it. Reading is fine, writing is not. I do not give it access to any third-party service that does not have its own audit log, and I do not add commands for things that need judgment. If a decision requires me to think about it, it should not have a one-word shortcut. The bot is for things where the answer is always the same, and the only variable is when I want to run it. Judgment stays with me, testing before I trusted it. I want to say something about how I built confidence in this thing, because I did not just wire it up and start sending it commands on day one. I ran every function the bot calls as a standalone script first, many times, until the output was completely predictable. Then I added the bot layer on top and tested each command in a situation where a mistake would not matter, before I ever used it on anything live. I also logged everything, every command the bot receives, every action it takes, every reply it sends, all of it goes into a log file. If something ever behaves in a way I do not understand, I can look at exactly what happened. That log is not optional. It is how you catch the weird edge case you did not think of before you built the thing. The honest limits I ran into. I want to be honest about where this setup has limits because I think a lot of build videos skip this part. The first limit is that it is only as reliable as the machine it runs on. If my server goes down, the bot goes with it. I have had a few times where I sent a command and got nothing back, and the answer was that the machine had rebooted and the bot process had not restarted cleanly. I fixed that with a proper restart policy, but it was a lesson in not assuming the thing you built around is always there. The second limit is latency. For anything that takes more than a minute to complete, I need the bot to handle that asynchronously, sending me a message when it finishes rather than making me wait for a reply. If I did not build that in from the start, long-running commands would just time out. The third limit is that the text interface, which is most of what makes it great, is also its ceiling. Anything that involves looking at a chart, comparing two images, or reading something visual cannot come through a chat message in a useful way. I handle those things through a different interface. The bot handles what text handles well. What I would tell someone starting this: if you are thinking about building something like this for your own setup, here is the honest advice I would give. Start with one command, not a whole menu of things. One command for the thing you check most often, and make it work perfectly. That single command will teach you everything you need to know about the architecture, the error handling, and the failure modes, before you have 20 things depending on it. Add the user ID check before you add anything else. Literally the first thing in the code, before you handle any message at all. Treat the confirmation step as mandatory for anything that writes or deletes, and log everything from day one, even when you are just testing. The log is your only record of what happened, and it will save you time more than once. Once you have one command working cleanly, adding the second one takes almost no time. The hard part is the first one and the safety layer. After that, it is just more entries in the command table. This is one of the things I am most glad I built. It sounds modest when I describe it, a chatbot that runs scripts, but in practice it has changed how connected I feel to my own setup. I can check anything, kick off anything, and be notified about anything from anywhere with no extra infrastructure. I built it in an afternoon. I have been trusting it for months, and the only thing I have changed since is adding more commands. If you want to see more honest walkthroughs of the things I actually build and run, subscribe and follow along. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.